Hello, this is Angelia, and you're listening to or watching the podcast, Why You Do What You Do. The podcast that talks about human development, psychology, to maybe help you figure out a little bit more about why you do what you do. And last time we were talking about cultural conceptions of love. Because we all have our idea of what love is and what love looks like to us. And so we're gonna, take up on that. Actually, students of love find that chance plays a much smaller role than the cultural context. Although love seems to be virtually universal, its meaning and expression vary across time and space. So like I said, everyone has a different idea of what love is. According to Anne E. Beal and Robert Sternberg, people in different cultures define love differently. And the way they think about love affects what they feel. Love, say these investigators, is a social construction, a concept people create out of their culturally influenced perceptions of reality. So love is a social construction. It's something somebody decided was a thing. You might feel love for someone gave it a name, that's how we express our utmost attraction or feelings for others. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Ah, no. This concept influences what is considered normal, acceptable, or ideal. Culture influences not only the definition of love, but the features considered desirable in choosing a beloved, the feelings and thoughts accepted to accompany love, and how lovers act toward each other. Now, the features considered in choosing a beloved as being desirable, that differs from society to society. I'm sure we've all seen the videos with, the African men, all painted up, jumping up and down, and doing this, trying to look for the mate. And in the Middle East, there's a certain group that think bigger is better when it comes to their women. And so the mothers fatten these girls up to get them as big as they can, So in each culture, there's a different ideal of what is attractive and what love looks like. And how lovers act towards each other. In some cultures, the utmost of respect is considered love, and in some cultures, chastising your one is considered love. So again, across cultures, there's differences in what love looks like. Social approval and support from family and friends reinforce satisfaction with and commitment to a relationship. Now, ultimately it's up to you, but if it's someone your family likes and your friends likes, you're going to have an easier time in your relationship. So, a word of caution is, if mama, daddy, somebody, they don't care for them, or friends don't care for them, they're seeing something and maybe you don't. Now, if you're around a lot of critical people, they might just be being critical. So you have to weigh that out and decide if there's any truth. Like I tell my kids, even a broken clock's right twice a day. So you have to decide if there's any validity, or if these are just really critical people and they're just being really critical. Excuse me. In many cultures, love has been considered a dangerous distraction, disruptive of a social order based on arranged marriages, and especially in the East, that's the thing. The parents get together and they choose who you should marry based on, they like this, they're going to do this, they're going to do this, and love, romantic attraction is just a distraction of your, how harmonious life. Because if you get a matchmaker and they make the match, and you know, this would be the harmonious match, but yet you want this person who's totally opposite of you, because in the beginning opposites attract, then they feel like that's bad, that's a distraction in your life that you don't need, it's going to just cause you trouble. During the past 2 centuries, in Western societies and in some non-Western ones as well, marriage has come to be built on love, a trend accelerated by women's increasing economic self-sufficiency. So in the past, women didn't really have much of a say. You know, the hubby got picked for her, or the hubby picked her, you know, and she would take the best match, you know. And here we say as economic self-sufficiency increased. So mom and pop, and sometimes women themselves, wanted the best choice, i.e. the man with the most money. I know my particular mother had, when she found out about one guy, she really wanted money to be with that guy. She didn't want to be with these other guys. You know, she wanted the guy with the most money. But, you know, you love who you love. Romantic love is more commonly accepted in individualistic societies than in collectivist ones. So, you know, in our society versus, you know, communism, socialism. In communist China, for example, such love is frowned upon. Again, because it's not towards the greater good. Chinese see themselves in terms of social roles and relationships and view self-indulgent emotional displays as weakening the social fabric. And now that's in certain parts. You know, certainly like Hong Kong is pretty much free, you know, basically like here. So, you know, a lot of matches are still made over there. India, same way. A lot of matches are made. So, you know, it's all towards the greater good. Within Western civilization, ideas about love have changed radically. In ancient Greece, homosexual love was prized above heterosexual relationships. So, in ancient Greece, homosexuals were a big thing, you know. And like I say, it happens in nature, you know. There's animals that are that way. So, even though it might not be the norm, it is a thing. You can't deny it's a thing unless you're just being ignorant. But, you know, in ancient Greece, that was what they preferred. In some cultures, love has been separated from sexuality. And that was certainly true during medieval times, where you had the wife, but then you had mistresses or lovers. And, you know, I personally don't see a reason for that, you know, probably because I wasn't brought up that way. But to me, I want all three. I want it all together. I don't want, you know, a friendly relationship with a man, a passionate relationship with a man, and a committed relationship with a man. I don't want to deal with all of that. I just want one and one and one. In King Arthur's court, love involved a non-sexual chivalry rather than intimacy. Knights undertook feats of bravery to impress fair ladies, but didn't seek to marry them. And of course, that was, you know, they're not quite sure. They think they know who King Arthur was now. They think they might have found where he was. But these tales come from somewhere. And certainly all of us women wish chivalry were still alive. In the Roman Catholic Church, love of God is considered superior to love of a human being. And that's why they don't marry. You know, the priests and the nuns, they don't marry. The love of God is the number one thing for them. In Victorian England, love was viewed as a noble emotion, but sex was considered a necessary evil, required only for producing children. So the Victorians, they're just like, oh, ugh, you know, very prudish. And, you know, love was, you know, good and well, but sex was kind of a dirty thing, you know, and it's like, well, I have to do this to give them children, so I will. The Victorian poets placed the beloved on a pedestal, and wouldn't we all like to be there? A more modern view is that of loving a person for who he or she is, warts and all. And that's how it should be. We're all real people. No one should be up on the pedestal to where you're like, oh, because that's not reality. And soon, like I say, when the newness wears off, you're going to find out this person is a person and they do have warts and all. So, infatuation is more what that is. Ideas about love are influenced by how a culture looks at human nature. Because if you're allowed to be humans and have human nature, it's easier to realize, your partner is a human and you should love them even though they are. For example, during the 18th century European Enlightenment, love, like other aspects of human experience, was thought to be subject to scientific understanding and rational control. So the scientists of even that day decided we can study love and figure that out. You should be able to control love. And people were expected to hold their passions in check, which we all know is easier said than done. By the 19th century, disillusionment with the power of science and reason had set in, because your 18th century scientists weren't aware much of the scientific method. They would just do something and decide, oh, well, that's it. But it's like, hey, wait a minute. But what about this variable and this variable that you didn't account for? And, the scientists of that day weren't very scientific. People were seen as creatures of sensation, prejudice, and irrational emotion. And love was described as an uncontrollable passion. So they, at that point in time, in the 1800s, had decided we were basically glorified animals. And, that's why we were the way we were, and you might as well accept that. And I remember hearing some things about certain things that my great-grandparents said, which would kind of reflect that. And I'd be like, oh, gosh, they really believe that? But, we've learned a little more since then, thankfully. Today, the popularity of marriage counseling suggests a reassertion of the possibility of consciously affecting the course of love. And, of course, it does. Because if there's a problem between the couple, usually it has to do with personalities and behaviors. And that's something that can be changed, So when you go to couples counseling, what you're doing is saying, here's what you're doing that doesn't look like love to me. Here's what would look like love to me. And the other person's doing the same thing. And then you come together, find the common ground, and say, okay, well, I won't do that anymore. I won't say that anymore. I'll do more of what you're wanting, what love, looks like and feels like to you. And so there's compromise and common ground, laid on, and you can build foundation and, build your relationship up from there. And if you really love the person, you're willing to do that. Do opposites attract? Not as a rule. Just as people choose friends with whom they have something in common, they tend to choose life partners much like themselves. And that's in general. But now, some of us women and even some men have the, bad boy or bad girl fixation. And usually that goes all the way back to good old mom and dad. Thanks, parents. And that's where you might have had a relationship that was not satisfactory with the opposite sex parent, or even the same sex parent, if there's a homosexual relationship. But what you want, what your brain decides, is you want to have a good outcome out of this old relationship. So it picks someone that's like that parent, and decides we want to work, we can reform them, make them better, we can have a successful relationship. And that's not always true. But you might not realize this is something you've done. So, when you're going for that bad boy, that bad girl, you might want to start thinking about that, folks. Why? Because in general, you shouldn't want to be with the bad person. You want to be with a good person. Especially if you're a good person. So you need to think about that. Why is this attracting me? And if you can take the step back and think about, why is this person attracting me when I don't like what they're doing, then you can maybe save yourself some trouble. Or if you really feel like you're in love with this person, then you need to talk to them about their behavior and say, I don't like this bad behavior. And they might tell you to screw off. I was divorced twice because the hubby was like, I don't care what you think about my behavior. This is how I am. You take me or you leave me. And I was like, okay, I'm leaving you. Easy choice for me. But if you can take a step back and find out, why am I looking at this bad boy, this bad girl? Then maybe you can say, oh, you know what? I didn't have a good relationship with mom or dad or whatever. That's what men talk about, people with daddy issues. They think, that's an easy mark, especially for the bad guys, that if they got the daddy issues, then you can use and abuse that woman because they're looking for the resolution of a relationship with the, father figure. So be on the lookout there, girls. There's a whole section of men out there who are looking for the damaged, vulnerable female with daddy issues. So be aware. And guys, the same thing works for women too. If they're, looking for someone, if mom was too strong and, they want to, if they have a problem with dad and they might want to be overbearing on you and be in charge to, put their foot down and be like, you're not going to treat me like that, so you guys, you gotta have to talk to each other, communicate, and if the relationship ain't right, get some help, get it figured out. If you can't figure it out, you're probably better going your separate ways. According to the matching hypothesis, dating partners who are about equally attractive are most likely to develop close relationships. Lovers often resemble each other in physical appearance, mental and physical health, intelligence, popularity, and warmth. They are likely to be similar in the degree to which their parents are happy as individuals and as couples, and in such factors as socioeconomic status, race, religion, education, and income. And of course, we all know there's always exceptions to the rules. Finding your perfect match in where you live and at that point in time is going to be pretty rare. They developed eHarmony where they got all these things you match, but even then you might be like me. So for the most part, we do like someone like us because we'll have some fun and not everything's going to be like each other, and people do grow and change. My husband is pretty much the same he was back in the day. I have grown and changed. At first, he wasn't down with that. He didn't want me to be like that. He wanted me to be how I was. But it's like, hey, this is my reality now. I can't go back. So you either deal with it or we can't be together. And so he's learned to deal with it and, got some counseling, got some tools, and skills in his little toolbox there to realize that I should be allowed to be who I want to be. And I'm allowed to grow and learn and, change. And that's okay because as a person, you should. He's also learned some things, grown a little bit as a person. And, he's realizing that that's okay too. And that's a good thing. Couples often have similar temperaments too. Risk takers tend to marry other risk takers, though they may be risking early divorce. Because, if you were kind of an explosive, wild person, the relationship's going to be explosive and wild, which might be fun for a while, but eventually that's probably going to get old. Okay, patterns of loving. We're going to talk about the type and the description. Non-love. All three components of love, intimacy, passion, and commitment, are absent. This describes most interpersonal relationships, which are simply casual interactions. And that might be just people you know at work, neighbors or whatever, people you talk to. That's a non-love relationship. Liking. Intimacy is the only component present. There is closeness, understanding, emotional support, affection, bondedness, and warmth. Neither passion nor commitment is present. And that's just, you liking somebody. Yeah, I like them. Infatuation. Like the song Infatuation. Passion is the only component present. This is love at first sight, a strong physical attraction and sexual arousal, without intimacy or commitment. Infatuation can flare up suddenly and die just as fast, or, given certain circumstances, can sometimes last for a long time. So you youngsters, maybe some oldsters out there, realize that infatuation is just that. You feel attracted to this person, and that's infatuation. You're not in a relationship with this person. You're not committed to this person. So take that for what it is. Now you can pursue more, but that doesn't mean the other person has to be interested in more. And if they're not, guys and gals, no means no. And, just realize, well, it was an infatuation and now it's over. Empty love. Commitment is the only component present. Empty love is often found in long-term relationships that have lost both intimacy and passion, or in arranged marriages. You might have feelings for each other, you might be committed to the marriage, but that's pretty much it. Romantic love. Intimacy and passion are both present. Romantic lovers are drawn to each other physically and bonded emotionally. They are not, however, committed to each other. And that's, a lot of young people fall in romantic love. And that's not, anything to worry about, because it happens. And it may become a committed relationship, and it may not. And a lot of young folks, do a little bit of romantic love, try this out, try that out, and that's fine as long as, you're young, or, that's your lifestyle that you choose for the rest of your life. But most of us want the committed love. Most of us want that relationship. And again, nothing wrong with that either. Compassionate love. Intimacy and commitment are both present. This is a long-term committed friendship, often occurring in marriages in which physical attraction has died down, but in which the partners feel close to each other and have made the decision to stay together. And this is what a lot of older folks, have. They've made the commitment to stay together, so they're emotionally bonded, but maybe the fires of passion just have fizzled out. And that's a fact, it's very rare that you are passionate, once you get past middle age, because the drives go down. It's just not there, and every now and then you still feel a little frisky, but that's not abnormal. Fatuous love. Passion and commitment are present without intimacy. This is the kind of love that leads to a whirlwind courtship, in which a couple make a commitment on the basis of passion without allowing themselves the time to develop intimacy. This kind of love usually does not last, despite the initial intent to commit. And we all know people who've had the whirlwind courtship, oh my gosh, they're the perfect one. They hop right in, and then, 6 months, a year later, 2 years later, it's over. And one partner might have been more invested than the other one. So, Consummate love. All three components are present in this complete love, which many people strive for, especially in romantic relationships. And like I say, that's what I want. It is easier to achieve it than to hold on to it, because that takes work, and some people don't want to work. Either partner may change what he or she wants from the relationship. And then, like I said, that's the problem when people change. You know, a lot of people are resistant to change. They want the partner to stay exactly the same. And when they start to change and grow and become a different person, whoa, you know, I liked it when you know, there's always problems with people who don't like change. If the other partner changes too, the relationship may endure in a different form. If the other partner does not change, the relationship may dissolve. Because, like I say, a committed relationship, a committed love, takes work. It takes work. And some people aren't willing to do the work. If it don't come easy for them, it's not meant to be. Well, that might not be true. It's called you're lazy in love. It's too much work for you. You're lazy. If you're committed and you really love this person, you're emotionally bonded, you're physically attracted, you're going to do what it takes to stay with this person. And if you're not willing to do what it takes, that says you're not that committed to the relationship. Goodness sakes. Sexuality, issues, and attitudes. Views about sexual activity fall into three main categories, according to a major national survey of sexual attitudes and behavior. About 30% of Americans have traditional or reproductive attitudes about sex. That sex is permissible only for reproductive purposes within marriage. And that's a small percent, 30%, bigger than I would have imagined. But there are a lot of conservative people here in America, you know, had Puritan ancestors. But, you know, most people don't feel that way nowadays. Another 25%, more men than women, have a recreational view of sex. That whatever feels good and doesn't hurt anyone is fine. And of course, all us women are saying, yeah, we know. Because men are kind of notorious for wanting the casual sex and not committed relationship. But women do it too. There's some people out there, you know, that just do these things. So, you know, that 25% actually even seems small to me. Roughly 45% take a relational view, that sex should be accompanied by love or affection, but not necessarily marriage. And we see that all the time because there's a whole lot of people who live together and don't get married right away or don't get married ever. These three views structure the national debate about what is right and wrong when it comes to sexual behavior. Because you're more conservative folks, you shouldn't be having sex if you're not married. It says fornication is wrong, it says adultery is wrong in the Bible. That's the way it is. But then, you know, they make that the forbidden fruit, so then the younger folks want to taste some fruit. And then you have the mainstream, which is like, you know, sex in a relationship with someone that you love. That's just natural. And then you have the others who are off the wagon too, and they're like, whatever feels good, do it. You know, if you want to do whoever, do it. You know, and then they end up with STDs because, and where did it come from? They don't know because they didn't sleep with 20 people. Who knows who it came from? So that's not good either. You know, I kind of think we need the middle of the road approach there, because, you know, I think this approach is over here is too conservative. Because I mean, what if you're not compatible? What if you're not sexually compatible? You figure that out, you know, and it's kind of late for that. And definitely you don't want to go this route because then, like I say, you end up with STDs and unwanted pregnancies and things. So middle of the road, committed relationship. To me, I don't want to. I mean, I knew people And I don't want to have a sexual relationship with someone I'm not in love with. I want to be in a relationship because to me that love adds the dimension there. To me, I mean, if you just want to behave like an animal, just be an animal. But the love to me is what makes it more special. That you care about your partner, you have feelings for your partner, you're emotionally bonded, with your partner. That makes it all more special. That's just my opinion. And that's where I'm going to leave you today. I hope that helped you figure out maybe a little bit more about why you do what you do. If you want to help me out, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you want to help me out even more, go to my Patreon page and become a patron. That's all for now. Until next time.